Identifying
The king of cakes. Chopper for the win.
G'day guys, welcome back to Cakes by Chopper. Today we have the Stackable Panda cake. This is quite a versatile cake. You can do 3 little pandas or just 1 panda if you like. What you're going to do is head over to the Cakes by Chopper Facebook page, print off your template and cut out the 3 shapes. And then you're going to use these all throughout the tutorial. So try to keep them as dry as possible. Sometimes the cake can stick to it. I was lucky enough to go home for Christmas this year and I made this cake with my niece Lillian. So Lily, thank you so much for your help, and it was so much fun to make a cake with you, darling. Once I've cut out the 3 panda shapes, I tape it off the edges, going around each panda, making sure it was rounded, because I wanted to have a really soft feel. And then with the smallest panda, I cut in half on a diagonal, because I wanted them to sort of lean back and tilt. I didn't want them just flat, it just didn't seem right to me. So here you can see Lillian covering the cakes with buttercream after we filled the biggest cake. She just went all around the edges. This is basically just to help your fondant stick to the cake. As always, I do this because it tastes nicer, and if you don't like fondant, you can actually just peel it off and the cake still tastes really nice because the buttercream's there. Once you've got those 3 pandas crumb coated, you can roll out your white fondant, and then you're going to do the biggest one first. Lay it over, smooth it all down, working from the middle out, and then cut off the excess, clean it up and buffer over it with some of the excess fondant. If the fondant starts to grab or pull on itself, you can just put a little bit of cornstarch on top and it should run smooth. Trim up the bottom to be the finished result, and because you don't do any more work to this cake other than painting and applying some stuff, repeat the same process for the other 2 little pandas. Be sure to tuck the fondant in underneath so it's nice and smooth all the way around. Once you're done with the panda bodies, you're going to sit them aside and let them firm up a little bit. This helps when you stack them, it just helps them hold each other's weight. Now you can move on to the step of rolling out your fondant into a nice thin strip and cutting out your 3 sets of eyes. I worked in the process of doing the large eyes, the medium eyes, then the small eyes, and then moved on to the ears, the feet, and then the legs. And I found it a lot easier to keep track of where I was at. For the ears, I rolled a ball and squashed them down, then cut it in half and then manipulated it with my fingers to match the template. As you can see, Lily did the same for the small panda. For the legs, I just rolled out a fat sausage, measured it on the template and cut it in half. My legs were a little bit too big, so I cut them down and I've adjusted the template for you guys accordingly. If you want to use black fondant for the eyes and the feet, feel free to. I just didn't want to run to the store and get some when I could just paint it with the gel food dye. Now that you got all your pieces cut out, you can start attaching them to the cake with a little bit of water and a clean brush. I did the eyes first, then the ears, just so I knew exactly where everything would position. The main focus point of the cake are the eyes, so you don't want them to have any mistakes. To avoid streaking, I used a little bit of vodka and the gel food dye and then painted them on, making sure I went right down to the base without actually spilling. You need a very steady hand for this part because vodka and food dye tends to drip and you don't want to smudge anything, so be very careful if you choose to paint them. With the eyes, I drew the dot in first and then drew a circle around it, leaving the white part of the fondant to be that center eyepiece. Just make sure you draw the 2 dots on first before you go and do the rest of it, just so your eyes are nice and even. Of course, if you don't paint them and you use the black fondant, just cut out a white ring and stick that on. Now you can attach your legs and clean up any areas that you may have missed, because when the cake sits up on the panda, they're seen from a different angle. And then you're finished. There's your panda cake. Thank you so much to Lily for helping me, and thank you guys for watching.
Sir, hey, let's be friends. I'm dying to see how this one ends. Grab your passport and my hand. I can make the bad guys good for the weekend.
Stop, wait a minute. Fill my cup, put some liquor in it. Take a sip, sign a check. Julio, get the stretch. Right to Harlem, Hollywood.
List of ex-lovers, they'll tell you I'm insane. Cause you know I love the players and you love the game. Cause we're young and we're reckless.
Too hot, hot damn. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. Too hot.